This week on Ham Nation, we've got Gordo with antenna shorts. I'm getting started in electronics. Islands on the air and the Battleship Iowa. Ham Nation is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. Most in-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation. And by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 421, September 25th, 2019. A visit to the radio room of the Battleship Iowa.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Ham Nation. I'm George, W5JDX. Bob Heil is not with us tonight. He is out, I think he's in Milwaukee perhaps. Don Wilbanks, it's his birthday today, and I know he was in New Orleans a little earlier. He's probably still there and taking the week off, I think. So those two are taking it easy tonight, but we do have a crew of regulars here with us as well. We've got Amanda in a little early tonight from out in Colorado. Hi, Amanda.
Good evening, George, everyone in the chat room. Hello. And while you were rebooting, I told everyone to send Don some happy birthday wishes on the chat, and they did. And also, I'll be taking your questions all evening long, and I'm looking forward to some good videos tonight. Back to you, George.
Cool. That sounds like a lot of fun, and maybe we'll get some good questions out of that. And we've got Dale over in the Land of Oz. Or is it the Yellow Brick Road? I'm not sure. What do you call it?
Actually, we're on the Yellow Brick Road here, what used to be the Yellow Brick Road, U.S. Highway 54. And everything's looking good. The fall weather may be just around the corner. It's going to cool off just a little bit. Had a really warm September in general, though. So it's kind of interesting. Great Hamfest over the past weekend. Congratulations to the Reno County Amateur Radio Club. They put on their first Hamfest there, filled up the Armory, and it was a great show. And then we've got the Wichita Hamfest, or Valley Center Hamfest, coming up there in downtown Wichita on the 5th of October. So it's going to be busy, and we got a couple of good videos for you tonight, George. Go ahead.
Well, it's good to have you back with us tonight, Dale. We'll look forward to those coming up a little later in the show. And, of course, the host with the most, Gordo. Hi, Gordo. What's going on with you?
Well, all is well here in Southern California. It's going to be a busy weekend. Bob up in Milwaukee at the HRO store for their Superfest on the weekend. He's going to have a great time there. And we'll be talking about Bob's Radio Club of America, a very special award for Bob Heil and a couple of other great hams. Also this weekend, up at Spokane, Washington on Saturday, the Spokane Ham Fest, and that's the Washington State Convention 9 to 4 at University High School. Have a fun time there. Also this weekend, the WIN system. And the WIN system is that internet tied into over 80 or 90 repeaters throughout the country. So tune in to your local WIN system, and you may hear me there as well. And that's down at the Pechanga RV Resort in California. And nearby, Tucson is having its Autumn Ham Fest this Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And, you know, those folks that pull together Ham Fest, all volunteers, wow, my hat's off to all of you for helping ham radio continue to grow, offering testing, getting more kids into ham radio, and just making things happen. And that's what ham radio is all about. George, back to you.
Okay, Gordo. And by the way, we'll have a blooper probably at the end of the show. I don't know if you noticed, but the sign behind you fell just as Victor cut to you. So that was interesting there. Well, as you mentioned, Radio Club of America did just announce their 2019 award recipients and fellows, and a couple of people that I know were in there this year. Bob Heil, K9EID, won the award for significant achievements and demonstrated excellence in the engineering and manufacturing of radio equipment. And Martin Jew from MFJ, K5FLU, won the award for unique contributions to the field of amateur radio. So congratulations to those and all the other people who were award winners this year and those who became fellows. Gordo, I know you were talking a little earlier about some special shorts you've got for us this week. Tell us more.
Oh, boy. Well, thanks, George. Well, we'll start off with vertical and horizontal, dealing with the electric radio waves that leave an antenna and enter someone else's antenna, either vertical or horizontal. So let's go ahead and roll the shorts, Victor. And here's an example of a horizontal dipole made up of plain old speaker wire, probably about $2 of wire, coax coming down. This is a wonderful dipole for, I believe, 40 meters. And a couple of years ago, we ran it for field day, and there were great contacts made. The lines of force, the electrical lines of force, leave the dipole just the way you see the left and the right side, and that is virtually horizontal. So the dipole is normally horizontal for high frequency, and for high frequency, the beam antenna is also horizontal, a couple of them there. And sooner or later, we'll have great discussions as to how far apart you should separate your beam antennas. These are co-phase, so they're going to put out about 2.5 to 3 dB more gain in one direction that they're pointed toward. But the radio wave will be horizontal when it leaves the beam antenna. However, when we take in effect high-frequency skywaves reflecting and refracting off the D, the E, the F1, the F2 layer, many times that polarization will rotate. And that's where DX Engineering has all sorts of great devices to add to your radio to bring in a second antenna that might be vertically polarized for reception that will increase when it's vertical and then increase when it's horizontal, and it's constantly changing on high frequency. Here's another high-frequency antenna system. Way up at the tip top, not sure you can see it, but I'll describe it, is a loop antenna. And that loop antenna is horizontal for the 6-meter band. And for other 6-meter operators locally operating horizontal, will have great signal exchanges. However, anytime you work someone that is cross-polarized, you're horizontal and they are vertical, and you're real close, you may find that there'll be degradation of the signal due to cross-polarization. But the true 6-meter DXers, they love horizontal polarization on their mobile, because number one, it looks fancy, and horizontal polarization has a little lower noise floor on high frequency. And every so often, folks will start off horizontal, but they will end up, vertical. Here's Chip K7JA after a windstorm. And, you know, he said the antenna performed extremely well, both vertical as well as horizontal on high frequency, because the polarization constantly is shifting. So on HF, on 10, 6, 15, 20, 40, and even 75. That's pretty tough, 75 to be horizontal, but at least 40 horizontal. There's no telling which way your signal will come in at the other end. So now let's explore vertical. And I saw this about 2 years ago at the Dayton Hamvention when it was still at Dayton. And this is a HF loop for 75 meters. It's got a capacity hat on the top. His counterpoise is the Jeep, probably dragging a chain. Won't make much difference on the asphalt. But what a neat installation. His whole system comes down, and he can actually drive around with everything ready to deploy again. So this is vertically polarization, a vertical polarized antenna, even though the capacity hat on the top is horizontal. Maritime mobile, everything is vertically polarized. In fact, we can tell the effects of polarization when a ship is out there and it's rolling side to side. We can hear the signal come in, and then it'll go out, and then it'll come in, and then it'll go out. So that's a neat thing. So now let's take a look at most mobile VHF and UHF. There, everybody working through repeaters and everyone working simplex have the same polarization, and that is vertically polarized. So make a note, vertically polarized. Here we go, another vertical polarized young lady at the Xenia Ham Fair, and she's quite an artist. Takes her a whole day to get her head, her hair all spruced up on her head, and there's actually a SMA connector down back next to her neck that one could hook in an HT to and hear a dramatic increase to other stations vertically polarized. Now, when we work satellites, that's Clint Bradford on the right. The satellites many times are rolling. So what we do there, we could do, I'm sure, circular polarization, right hand and left hand. But for the little arrow antennas and the simple 3-element beam antennas, we have the 70-centimeter antennas, the smaller elements in one polarization, and the 3 elements for 2 meters on the other. And we rotate. So as that satellite is coming in, be prepared to do a little rotation because, again, the satellite is slowly spinning to keep its solar panels cool, and it requires you on the ground to keep track of it by matching the polarization coming off the satellite. But the big question is, what happens to polarization on a long-haul tropospheric duct? And I know we've talked a lot about tropospheric ducting, one of my favorites here, because the great tropospheric ducting is all the way to, well, take a look, from here in Southern California all the way to Hawaii, and that is Hawaii's Paul Lieb, unfortunately a silent key, KH6 Hotel Mike Echo. And Paul came over to my house and he says, you know, let's try something. Let's try a test of horizontal to horizontal, and then let's try a test of vertical to vertical and see whether or not horizontal or vertical polarization, keeping both stations on the same polarization, what works better? And that was a big question when South Africa 2 weeks ago talked 3,000 kilometers to St. Helena in the Azores, and there the polarization was the same, but there was great debate. Were they both vertical or were they both horizontal? Here is a KH6 HME station in Hawaii, and like all volunteer hams, they have a crew up there getting ready, and getting ready for this test that Paul and I would do. And this test was a couple of years ago, and it was between Southern California and Hawaii. And if you look, Hawaii is about 1/3 over from the left, and the West Coast and the rest of the country is off to the right-hand side. And what we would do is we would first transmit beam to beam, same type of beams on horizontal single sideband, and then instantly we would go vertical beam to vertical beam to see which path liked the polarization the best. So it's a little hard to hear at first, but we're going to first start out on single sideband, and then we're going to switch to FM, and we're going to change polarization from horizontal for single sideband over to vertical for FM. Bingo. I am on FM. This is King Henry 6 Hotel, Mike Echo. Same power, same antennas, but now we're vertical, and amazing, the horizontal to horizontal was about S8, the vertical to vertical on FM. Well, listen, you be the judge.
Copy me, Jordan. Yeah, real good. He's coming up in signal straight. This is King Henry 6 Hotel, Mike Echo. Locate on the big island of Hawaii, which is the southernmost island of the Hawaiian Islands.
So Paul is always happy to go vertical or horizontal, and we're on the 432 megahertz band, and the signal strengths were nearly the same. So everybody was saying, well, okay, horizontal to horizontal over a 2,500 mile path is great. Vertical to vertical on beam antennas of the same dB gain is great. The horizontal on sideband edged out the FM just a little bit. But one station said, I can't really hear much. And he had a vertical antenna that you see here. This vertical antenna was an inexpensive antenna that he brought in direct from China. And it was a great performer for about a year. And then for some reason, it just didn't seem to hear Hawaii anymore. The Hawaiian beacon is horizontal, and other local comms are vertical. And he said, I don't know what's going on. So I said, well, is it a diamond antenna? Is it a comet? He goes, oh, no, those are way too expensive. This is a Chinese special. I said, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the joints that you put together and to see what's going on the inside. And for those of you with any one of the gain vertical antennas that have the half-wave elements stacked in a collinear array on the inside for both 2 meters and 440, you know that you've got to set screw the sections together. And to do so, you got to get into the sections. And here we're opening up the sections. And what we found when we opened up his antenna was, his connection was good. It's either a screw or an Allen screw to get that going. However, the black area there, it keeps it from rattling, was a little soggy. And I thought, what's going on? I said, let's take a look at this. Whoa! Yep. We undid some H2O, about 2 teacups full. And it killed everything at the base of the antenna. It's copper down there, and it had wicked up the moisture. So what we've learned about all of this is, number one, before the rains hit, be sure that you get those type of antennas well sealed at the joints. And you can do it even now with any kind of black tape that you stretch real tight that will tend to stick to itself, or the fix-it tape for plumbing. You just want to make sure that those connections on that gain antenna are nice and tight and clean, because once you get water in the base of a vertical antenna, you're no longer vertical, you're not horizontal, you're off the air. So for all of us entering the first week of fall, now's the time to go up there and give the antenna a rattle. Make sure there's no water sloshing around in there. And if it's working fine, your SWR is good, time to really seal up those joints that allow the manufacturer to ship the antenna, and then you put it together by a simple Allen screw, and you'll be set. as long as you keep the moisture out from pooling in the base of those white fiberglass antennas. Again, we've never really seen a problem with Comet or Diamond, but we have seen a problem with the lower cost antennas that are alternates to what are a little bit more expensive, but a little tighter fit. So that's my story. So, George, why don't we take a look and see what's happening with someone that has the best antennas, the best coax, just the best everything, and that is DX Engineering, always standing tall, vertical, and horizontal.
Contest season is here, and if you're thinking of upgrading your station for the upcoming DX expeditions like Victor, Papa 6 Romeo, Pitcairn Island in October, you're going to want high-quality audio equipment in your shack. And you cannot go wrong by choosing gear from Heil Sound, available at DX Engineering. Heil Sound offers a range of headsets perfect for hours of fatigue-free DXing and contesting. The Pro 7 headsets, I have one, I love it. It has a passive noise-canceling ability that blocks out background noise, audio balance control, a phase reversal switch for digging out weak signals, and an adjustable boom mic. The Pro Set Elite headsets deliver bright, articulate audio to cut through pileups. They feature acoustically tuned chambers that facilitate a high rejection of outside noise. The lightweight and comfortable Pro Set 6 headset uses Heil's HC6 wide response mic element, so you can take perfect advantage of the microphone EQ of your modern transceiver. Heil Sound also offers headsets for other applications such as MCOM and commercial broadcasting. Designed for emergency communications, the Heil BM17 headset features extremely sensitive speakers that don't require much AF drive from the transceiver. Heil's low distortion BM10 DYN headsets weigh only 3 ounces, making them a perfect companion for transport in the field or long hours of contesting and chasing DX at home. And the Pro Micro single and dual-side headsets feature a unique high-performance headphone boom designed for commercial broadcast applications. Also available from DX Engineering, headset adapter cables and headset foot switch packages. Heil's Pro Set 3 headphones give you professional quality audio to your shack for home, whether you're listening to a distant shortwave broadcast, DXing, or jamming to your favorite tunes. They feature exceptional articulation and clarity with sonic accuracy and a closed-back, lightweight headset. Ergonomic design with soft adjustable cushioned headband for maximum comfort, significant acoustical outside noise rejection, and 3 detachable cables that allow you to select the correct length and connector perfect for your needs. DX Engineering ships faster than anybody else in the industry. Most orders placed by 10 p.m. Eastern are shipped the same day. With proven products and expert advice, DX Engineering is helping you shrink the globe. Request your catalog or shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com/HamNation. And we thank DX Engineering for their support of Ham Nation.
And thank you, DX Engineering, and thank you, Don, for recording that for us. I did want to mention about the vertical antennas Gordo was talking about a while ago, the fiberglass dual band antennas. I've used a number of those over the years. First, let me just say they're probably not what you want to put up really high in the air, particularly for repeater usage. We just haven't had good luck around here with things several hundred feet in the air like that. You're better off with some other type of antenna. But I've had a couple of, and this was years ago, the Diamond X500 antennas, which were very popular. I'm not sure of the current model, but I had 2 of them that ended up with water inside, like Gordo's discussing there. And the problem was right there at where the element goes down in the base, where the fiberglass radome connects, there's a circle of glue around there, and somehow that had shrunk or something, and water got down in there. And not only do you lose the antenna when that happens, you lose the coax that you've got coming out the bottom of it, too, because the water runs down inside of it. So something you want to check. And, yeah, I always seal up those joints, Gordo, on these antennas these days to make sure that it's not coming in there. Some Scotch 88 or something like that, a few layers of it real tight. And I've had very good luck out of these fiberglass antennas for, I don't know, the last 15 or 20 years. But anyway, they're one of my favorites, but I don't know about putting them up real high. If you're doing a repeater, you might want to look at a Decibel Products or something like that, something that you can put up and not have to worry about it, because it's hard to get somebody to go up 500 foot on a tower work on the antenna. So the longer it can sit there without maintenance, probably the better. Well, Smoking Solder tonight, I just wanted to share a book with you here. And first off, let me just say, this book comes from Master Publishing, W5YI.org. And you may have heard of them before. They also publish Gordo's books. So just get that out there in advance. Gordo had nothing to do with this, though. The publishers sent me some books to review recently, and here is one of them right here. And you may recognize this book. You may have seen it somewhere before, and that is Getting Started in Electronics by Forrest Mims III. Of course, we've heard of that author before. He's got some great books, and I've read a number of them over the years and referred to them frequently to get ideas for projects and such. The reason you may recognize this is it used to be sold in Radio Shack. I don't know if Radio Shack still carries them or not, but they are available from W5YI.org. And this is a great book. You know, I had never really stopped and looked at it before because by the time I saw it, I was already started in electronics and had been in it for a number of years. So I just never really sat down and looked at this, although I have looked at a lot of the other publications. This is a complete electronics course and only 128 pages. And let me say, there's nobody exactly like Forrest Mims III out there. He has written some great books over the years. He gets right to the heart of the matter there, puts it in simple layman's terms that almost anyone could understand. As always in the front, he's got, a little reference there. This is some common schematic symbols. And this is actually, I don't know the first year this was published, 1983. This is the 4th edition right here. It's 16th printing in 2019. It starts out just, giving you a few safety factors here that you need to think about. And yeah, if you got kids, you want to be careful with them messing with electricity, especially line-powered stuff. But it's got a simple table of contents here in the front. And all his books, I've always liked this, they're done on lined paper, like a notebook, or they're done on graph paper. It's basically starts out with electricity, and it just talks about some simple physics, a few components there. He talks about, the atoms and the different particles involved with electricity, and he talks about charges and static electricity, the old trick with the comb and paper, the Linden jar, just, stuff that we all have probably played with before. Electromagnet, wrapping wire around a nail. Kids probably don't know about this stuff, and this is a great way to introduce them to it. And he talks about alternating current as well, a little bit about using a meter to measure AC and DC. Then he gets on into talking about different wave shapes and just basically, simple electricity, how you use switches and light bulbs, relays, simple stuff. Microphones and speakers, he covers that if you've ever wondered how they worked. And then it just gets on into resistors and some of the different components, a little bit of the math and, how, this is on resistors here, but a little bit about capacitors and such and the different wave shapes, different coils, transformers, semiconductors. He does not cover tubes in here, but, that's not something that's really taught anymore, especially in an introduction to electronics. That's something you're going to need to find out yourself. But diodes, and he just goes on through, tells about how these different devices work. And then he's got a few simple projects in here, some optical components in there.
And George?
Yes.
George, George, the best part of the book is he's done it all in longhand. Those are his actual printed letters. Book was done several years ago, long before the new type fonts. That's his own writing, and he has a real sparkle of humor putting those together. Thanks, George. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. And you know, it's simple to understand. He just spells it right out. He even covers a little bit on digital, and then he gets into a few different circuits there, power supplies, even some transistor circuits, a few communication circuits, and, you know, oscillators and such. These are pretty simple circuits, though. Some of his other books get more in-depth. But, you know, and I'm sure there's hams that don't know much about electronics, although you've passed a test and got your license. This is a good way to learn a little more, especially for a complete beginner, a complete noob. Forrest really lays it out great there. And I wanted to do one of the projects in this book here tonight that sounds kind of like a mystery. It's a voltage doubler, and I'm sure a lot of you know what voltage doublers are. And they're used in some of our tube-type amps and such. When you've got a voltage that's a certain level and you need twice as much or more, you can do it pretty simple. Of course, you could do it by changing the transformer, but you know, a lot of times that's not really an option. With a couple of diodes and a couple of capacitors, you can double the voltage of what you've got coming out of your transformer. Now here is, and that's not safe right there. That's 110, but I'm going to keep my hands away from it. I've got a transformer, and I've got the circuit that we were just looking at there, the 2 diodes and 2 capacitors wired up like this, and it's going to be difficult for me to zoom in and show you those components individually, but this is how you wire the circuit up. Now I'm going to turn on the power to it, and we can see it's just the transformer, a couple of diodes and capacitors. The first thing we're going to do here is we're just going to measure the voltage that's coming out of the transformer just to see what it is. You would think when you rectify it to DC that, well, you know, it couldn't be any more than it is coming out of the transformer to start with. Well, let's just see. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to put it on AC, huh, Gordo?
Right.
Right about 11.57 volts, 11.6 volts, so not a whole lot there. But I've got written 11 volts AC, so I'd already measured this transformer before and knew that's what it was. Now, what if I needed just a little more voltage than that for the project I'm working on, but this is the only transformer I've got. If I rectify that to DC, and we'll just look, just using a simple half-wave rectifier, just one diode. We'll just measure it like we were using one diode in the circuit here. And I've got roughly, go to DC and look at it. I'm having trouble holding my meter still. About 16 volts there. So we do have more voltage DC-wise than we did AC there. And you'll see that a lot of times when you've got a diode, you rectified it to DC, and you've got a capacitor on it, but let's say that's still not really enough. Well, we can add this other diode in here and this other capacitor and double that. And let's just check and see that is actually what's happening here. Wow. 31.78 volts out of a circuit that's using a transformer that only puts out 11 volts AC. Roughly 31.8 volts DC. So you know what? That voltage doubler circuit really does work, and you'll see it in a lot of our linear amplifiers. They're used quite frequently in there. So getting started in electronics, I recommend this book, and I've got some more we're going to be looking at in the future, but this is a really good place to get started if you don't know much about electronics yourself, or you want to start someone else out in it. This really spells it out all the way down to, the electrons. So that's what I had to show you tonight. I'm going to suggest if you don't know anything about it, get started right there. Now, I want to mention a couple of other things. First, Randy wants to know what you've been working on. And why don't you send him your photos of your project along with a description to hamprojects@twit.tv. And you might be included, you more than likely will be included in a future episode when we feature Show Us Your Projects. HamNationProjects@twit.tv. Let Randy, K7AGE, know what you've been working on. No videos, please. Photos and descriptions. And I do want to mention one other thing, and I mentioned it last week, but I'm going to mention it again this week. We'll be celebrating our 14th anniversary at Amateur Logic in mid-October. We've been doing this 14 years, and to celebrate, we've got ICOM has chipped in and sponsored us and provided a great rig here, the IC7300. You've seen it before. We've had it here on Ham Nation. We've got one we're going to be giving away. It's a super sweet software-defined radio. They call it entry level, and there's nothing entry level about this radio. When you look at the features that are on it, everything it will do, nothing entry level except the price. And these things have pretty much taken over that price point in amateur radio. They're excellent performers, have got everything you want in it, band scope, audio scope. It's a software-defined receiver, great DSP noise reduction in it, bandpass filters already included, practically everything you'd want in a very small compact package. And as I say, an excellent performer, great. Well, we've used them at field day before. Very good for portable operation as well as the main rig in your shack. I know a lot of people who are using them right in the shack there. And if you want to win that, you need to go to amateurlogic.tv/contest. You'll get all the details of how to enter, what you need to be qualified. Basically, you need to be a licensed U.S. or Canadian amateur with a call sign in the U.S. and Canada, or, either one of those two. And you'll need a shipping address that's in the U.S. or Canada. You'll get the IC7300 transceiver. Somebody's going to win that this year. But not only that, you're going to need some things to go with it. So we've also got the Mfj Cobweb Antenna. That is a very good performer and a compact antenna. We've used this at field day for a number of years. This particular one goes 20 meters through 6 meters. That's the one we'll be giving away. It's the MFJ 1836H, but there's also a model that goes 40 meters through 6 meters. This thing has always really done well, and we haven't had it that high in the air. The highest we've ever had it was, I think, around 40 feet, but even at 20 feet, it's a good performer, and it's not very large. You're going to need a power supply too, so we've got the MFJ 4230 DMP, a great little lightweight switching supply. This is mine right here. I take it out on field day and use it anytime I need just a little variable 12-volt power supply here in the shack. It has been a really good performer, up to 30 amps. So for its size, a nice performer. And how about a nice microphone to upgrade that with a little bit? I've got the new Heil ICM-BK. This is the new version with a black and gold finish. It's especially designed for ICOM rigs. It gives a little bit of extra gain out of the element there, just suited to match up with your ICOM rig. And it's got a push-to-talk button built right on the side there, so you can use it handheld if you'd like, or if you want to use it from a desk stand, something like that. The cable comes included with it, and it already has a connector to fit your ICOM rig, your ICOM HF rig, and it's got a connector on there as well so that you can plug in a foot switch or a hand trigger, whatever you want to use for push-to-talk. The Heil ICM really makes your ICOM radio sound great. And we're going to throw that in, as well as 100 foot of coax, RG8X from MFJ. And what else have we got? Well, we've got some of Gordo's books because, Gordo makes the best study guides for amateur radio. And we've got your choice of either the 2018, the brand new technician book, the brand new, if I can point at it, general book, or the current extra class study guide. Your choice of one of the three, because you may not be a general yet. You may just be a technician, and you're going to want to be a general to use that radio. So Gordo will help you study and learn more there and pass your exam, or you might want to upgrade from general to an extra. Or you might know somebody you want to get started in amateur radio, and the technician guide, highly recommended for that. Gordo puts it in a concise, easy to understand way of explaining things, much like the Forrest Mims book we just looked at, except Gordo doesn't write it all by hand. He actually uses fonts in his book, but a very good study guide. Each question and answer is explained, and he gives you a little bit of extra details on there, things to help you understand and really know when you're going in to take your exam how you're answering that question and why you're answering it that way. And I've also got one other thing we're going to throw in, and that is the MFJ 12 24-hour. It's the MFJ 148RC radio control clock. It's a clock that automatically syncs itself with WWV, so you don't have to worry about it. You can choose 12 or 24-hour display, and you can put 2 time zones in it. I put Central Time here, and on the other side I've got UTC, and that's really the 2 times that I'm interested in. There's a backlight as well, so if you want to be able to see it at night, and a 10-minute ID timer button that you can hit right there, and it'll remind you that you need to identify every 10 minutes. MFJ 148RC, a great clock for your shack, and of course, that coax is going to come with connectors, but Tommy and I always like to throw in a bonus. So and this is not them. Tommy claims he still has a pair of the genuine faux gold PL259 connectors, and we're going to throw in a pair of those for you as well. Go to amateurlogic.tv/contest. Get all the details right there and study for your exam with Gordo's books, as I'm looking at them right there. But go get all the details, register to win, because we're going to be giving it away next month. You got to register by the 10th. Only register once. If you hadn't done it, go tonight after the show. Check it out, get all the details, and register right there. And with that, let's see what Dale has for us tonight. It's been a while, Dale. What have you got collected up in the video stack?
We're looking pretty good tonight, George. Appreciate it. Glad to be back. Had to wait for a couple of videos to be completed, but we're sure glad to get those in. And we'd sure be glad to get your viewers out there to send us their videos also. We'll get them on the Ham Nation video segment. Well, tonight, 2 nice videos. A look at Islands on the Air, that's IOTA, and a virtual trip into the radio room of the Battleship Iowa. I think you'll enjoy both. Let's jump right in now with a look at the W4MY special event for 2019. Our videographer is Mark Sullivan. He's W4MPS.
W4MY getting ready for Islands on the Air 2019. What do you think, Marty?
I'm ready. Well, the antennas are up. They're working. Conditions look good.
Marty, who do we have with us this year?
This year for IOTA 2019, we have Mark, W4MPS, Bob, W4TTX, Dwayne, N4MIO, Steve, W4MGT, Paul.
No, you didn't say Paul.
K4XX. And Kim, KY4FAB,
Right.
And me, W4MY.
That's the team. Good luck. Have fun.
I'm picking up a signal, sir. Captain, that's the old Morse code call signal. CQ, CQ.
We're reading it, Lieutenant.
CQ, LOCQ, CQ IOTA, CQ Islands on the Air from W4MY. Whiskey 4 Mike Yankee, W4 Mike Yankee, North America 067. Calling CQ and listening.
WM7DX.
Is it 22?
Whiskey 4 Mike Yankee.
Whiskey 4 Mike Yankee 59207, Europe 171.
QSL, thank you. You're 59522, North America 067. QSL?
07, North America 067. And I need my QSL number, please.
Number 522, okay?
522, North America 067, Roger.
QSL, thank you. 73.
73, Oscar Zulu, 11 America.
Well, thanks, Mark. We appreciate the nice reportage featuring Islands on the Air. And thanks, by the way, for dropping the music track you had earlier so that our network of amateur TV stations could carry the video via Ham Nation. And also, thank you for narrating the video so that our Ham Nation podcast listeners could follow along. Well, next, Matt, W6AJC from the Battleship Iowa Amateur Radio Association gives us a close look at the radio room of the World War II Battleship Iowa. Here's Matt.
The Battleship Iowa Amateur Radio Association, BARA, is an association of radio amateurs whose purpose is the support of radio activities on or associated with the Battleship Iowa. BRA acts as the representative of the Battleship Iowa and the Pacific Battleship Center within the amateur radio community. In this role, BRA promotes the Battleship Iowa and the Pacific Battleship Center, the interest and advancement of amateur radio, coordinates the activities of the associates in providing public service, and provides the opportunity and facilities for the gathering of others interested in the hobby. BIARA operates its station under license NI6BB from the Communications Center on Iowa, promoting the Pacific Battleship Center, the Battleship Iowa, and amateur radio in general. When viewed backwards, the amateur radio call sign NI6BB partially reflects the hull number of the Battleship Iowa, which is BB61. When Iowa's amateur radio stations are active, visitors are often treated to a close-up view of the communications equipment in facilities control and the message center. It was decided that a special BIARA flag would be flown so that visitors boarding the Iowa would not miss this opportunity to see amateur radio in action. The flag was designed on a dark blue background with a golden highlighted centered circle. Battleship Iowa Amateur Radio Association appears inside the circumference of the circle in gold on a black background. Here is the first ever public showing of our brand new amateur radio flag. The small crowd on shore seemed to be interested in what we were doing with our new attention-attracting amateur radio advertisement. Here is a video showing our first unofficial, unrehearsed flag-raising ceremony. When flown, this flag will indicate that the Iowa's Message Center is manned and active with amateur radio operations for public viewing. Experiencing the sight and sounds of the ongoing communications in the Message Center and Facilities Control gives the Battleship Iowa visitors a better understanding of past and present radio communications. If you have the opportunity to visit the Battleship Iowa, be sure to look for the BIARA flag and not miss the chance to see the Iowa's amateur radio stations. If you are operating your amateur radio station and hear NI6BB on the air, please give us a call. We are always happy to talk about the Battleship Iowa amateur radio topics and visit with amateur radio operators around the world. For more information on the Battleship Iowa Amateur Radio Association, please visit us on the web at www.biara.org.
Well, thanks, Matt. Appreciate that report from the Battleship Iowa. And we'll repeat that website again for everyone out there. It's biara.org. And you'll get all kinds of information about their association and about the Battleship Iowa. The Gray Radio Gang volunteers, that's what Matt calls them, work on the Iowa. They also enjoy Ham Nation. We're glad to have them as viewers. Matt hopes to follow up with a future video showing the original transmitters and receivers and antennas that have been restored by the group for use on the Iowa. That should be a very interesting video. Well, that's a wrap for the 8th Ham Nation video segment for 2019. Keep those videos coming in. We can't wait to show yours to our Ham Nation viewers. If you have questions about producing a video, please do send an email to hamnationvideos@twit.tv. Include the link and any background information. If you just have questions and would like some help doing a video, be sure to write us at that address and we'll try to help you all we can. Next on Ham Nation, Don will be in with Newsline and Tamitha's space weather report. But first, we need to check in with the latest news from ICOM.
Heard it, worked it, logged it. It's time to get the transceiver that's best suited for your lifestyle. ICOM offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. Make the most out of contest season with one of these ICOMs today. IC7610, the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The ICOM IC7610 is a direct sampling, software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of a SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling, 110 RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. Or get the IC7300. Changing the way entry-level HF is designed, this high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. Keep your competitive edge with faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. ICOM's IC7851 is the pinnacle of HF perfection. Dual receivers, digital IF filters, memory keyer, digital voice recorder, high-resolution spectrum waterfall display, enhanced PC connectivity, and SD memory card slot. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information on all the great ICOM radios. And ICOM invites you to enter weekly after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation and register to win great swag prizes like T-shirts and hats, and you'll automatically be entered in the monthly grand prize drawing for a new radio. And for September, we've got a winner to announce. It's Kevin Hip KF4YX. Kevin Hip KF4YX, congratulations. You're going to enjoy your brand new ID 5100A dual band dual watch mobile from ICOM. But fear not, everyone else. We've got another radio to give away in October. If you'll go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation and register after this show and every show in October, you might be the winner of an ID 4100A entry-level D-Star mobile with big rig features. It's a VHF, UHF dual-band radio, one band at a time. It has built-in GPS, DVFM near repeater search function. There's a micro SD card slot for voice and data storage. It does both terminal mode and access point mode. And there's downloadable Android and iOS apps available. So go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation after this and each episode and register to win. Sign up. Good luck. And don't forget to follow ICOM America Inc. on Facebook and Twitter. And now the man that's got all the news to do with amateur radio, Don Wilbanks.
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2186, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, September 25th, 2019. Testing of a digital radio mode by North Korea could have an impact on some CW users on 80 meters.
In North Korea, where intermittent trials of Digital Radio Mondiale, or DRM, have been conducted since 2012, testing has resumed according to a recent report by Radio World. The report notes that the protocol is being used on 80 meters at 3.560 megahertz, a frequency allocated for amateur radio operators and used by many as one of the international QRP calling frequencies for CW. Radio World said it was unclear how long the testing would continue or whether it would evolve into regularly scheduled services. The transmissions are being sent by Voice of Korea, which is North Korea's international broadcasting service. Other countries have also been making use of DRM, including India, where All India Radio, the nation's public service broadcaster, adopted the standard for the medium and shortwave part of the spectrum. Broadcasters who have been turning to DRM for AM transmissions say they are capitalizing on the mode's sound quality, which approximates that of FM. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
As the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season passes in mid-September, the tropics began heating up. That meant more work for the Hurricane WatchNet. Newsline anchor Paul Brown, WD9GCO, has more.
The Hurricane Watch Net activated on Wednesday, September 18th on 20 and 40 meters as net manager Bobby Graves, KB5 HAV, announced that 4 storm systems were under observation. Bobby said the storm uppermost in everyone's sights was Hurricane Humberto, which, as of midweek, was poised to have an impact on Bermuda. Bobby said the net's activation plan could change, and ground truth data supplied from those in the affected area were a guide to the operator's plan of action. This is the latest information Newsline had as it went to production on the night of September 19th. Please visit our Facebook and Twitter accounts for further updates.
What began as a campus Cubesat club at a Pennsylvania university has become a launch pad for the group of engineering undergraduates who form its core membership.
The Villanova Cubesat Club has become home to newly licensed radio amateurs Dawson Duckworth, KC3NNB, Lauren Hurley, KD2RHC, and Kashwan Ji, AC3EN. They had a busy year since the club was founded in 2018 under the direction of faculty advisor Alan Johnston, KU2Y, who is a volunteer with AMSAT and serves as its vice president for education outreach. This year's ambitious agenda includes new challenges for the club. Members hope to launch weather balloons with CubeSats attached to conduct low-orbit testing, and they plan to build a permanent SatNOG station on the roof of one of the campus buildings. One of the SatNOG's functions as a part of an open satellite ground station network is to provide interoperability, not just with current systems, but any that would be created in the future. The club recently appeared at a RoboStock Robotics/STEAM event sponsored by the Eastern Pennsylvania Robotics Alliance. While there, they demonstrated an ABSAT CubeSat simulator developed by their faculty advisor and treated visitors to a viewing of a live low Earth orbit satellite tracking screen. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Neil Rapp, WB9 VPG.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Paul Brown, WD9GCO, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.
And 7-3, Don, and we will see you next time here on Ham Nation. Happy birthday, old man. And now, Amanda with the chat room. I hope you've gathered us some good questions tonight. Since Don is not here, we can answer questions, good ones tonight.
Thank goodness for that. When he's away, we can get down to work, get serious here. All right. The first thing I wanted to address Gordo's diamond antenna thing. So, Victor, I sent you that picture. By the way, Victor has been awesome tonight. I've been sending him stuff in the background, and I'm usually not very high maintenance. But, Victor, you want to show that mountaintop picture? I know it's kind of hard to see, but look at that ice-covered antenna. And this is a folded dipole, by the way, but we have put some of those diamonds, and I'm not trying to bash any antenna company. We just have to make better choices when we go up 12,000 feet to put an antenna. But we put a diamond up at this site one time, and it froze over and snapped in half. So think about your extreme weather conditions before you choose an antenna. I just want to put that out there. Sometimes not everything works. And another question for you, Gordo, was, did your buddy drill some holes down in the bottom to let that water drain for the next time around, or?
No, he totally sealed up after drying out the bottom section, the mating sections that screw together, and the antenna was toast, because down at the bottom, they had some sort of matching network out of copper. And of course, the water sitting there like a pool ate up the copper. So that antenna was history. And I agree with George and you seeing that antenna in the frozen ice, that if you're going to do a base station atop a building top or a repeater, you're talking professional single band antennas from Phelps Dodge or any one of the major DB products, any one of the major thick-walled antennas specifically designed for repeater operation. Nothing else. All of our great ham antennas just don't stand a chance when they get frozen.
They don't. Weather is extreme in one way or another. Hurricanes are another, where no matter what you do to mount that, it might not survive. So, there's just things that aren't going to work for the amateur radio bands when you're doing repeater stuff. All right, let's move on. I'm going to talk about WWV for a second here, and let me uncover my logo here. It's their 100th anniversary, and they're having a special event this weekend starting Saturday, 6 a.m. NCARC has this huge group of people that have put in a mass amount of time to organize this special event operation. They're going to be right outside of WWV. They have 2 campers and then also a communications trailer. They have operators scheduled almost around the clock. I would say they probably stop around midnight. And we also have some kind of popular hams coming in. We have Ann Manna coming in, and her husband are going to be operating VU3KD. I think a lot of you have probably worked him on the bands. He's coming in to operate this. A lot of out-of-staters have volunteered to come in and take some of the time slots. Jeff and I are going to be operating on Sunday from noon to 2 Mountain Time. So I hope you guys will join us. I'm also going to be Facebook Living that. And just want to show you, look at this. Isn't that cool? They have bumper stickers out there. If you go visit, you can probably get one. I got this cool t-shirt. It's really a huge event. And the actual anniversary is October 1st. And they probably have some diplomatic people coming to visit. But there's also some tours available throughout the weekend. And I can't wait to take a tour. This is going to be really fun. So get on the air, work them. They're going to be anywhere on the bands from 15 to 160. 10 evidently did not work out because of interference from WWV, but they do believe that they're going to make it work. So, and this is their Facebook page. Follow their Facebook page so you can follow their posts throughout this weekend. And they're going to say where the bands are really hot for them or where it's pretty open, and let you know where the best place to probably try to get a contact with them. Not to mention they probably have a very cool QSL card, and it's just going to be a fun time. And they've just put a ton of work into this. So, all right. Thanks NCARC for doing this and getting the special event on the air. Look forward to it. With that, I have this subject was brought up to me today via email, and I just kind of wanted to go around the table and get everyone's opinion. And this is something that's been happening more frequently. And after some tower deaths and injuries, I think it's good to talk about this. A lot of family members of Silent Keys reach out to clubs and say, well, my father's got his house and he has his antennas in his tower and we need to sell his house and we need it taken down. Would you come do that for us? And a lot of times they like to, they don't expect to have to give you anything. And we don't, as hams, don't really expect much. Usually maybe the tower and antennas for doing that. But I'm kind of curious on other people's opinions. And George, I'll go to you first. Have you ever been approached to help do something like this? And do you ever help?
No, I have never taken down a tower. That's a little beyond what I do. Although, I would assist if I could, but, I'm not a super big guy with a lot of weight. So I try to stay off the ropes that are holding up something real heavy and leave that to someone better suited for it. But I would say, yeah, if, I would say probably in most cases I've heard of, if you're going to take a tower down for someone, they'll generally probably give you the tower, and I wouldn't charge them for doing it. that seems like a fair exchange there. You're helping them out with the problem and get a little something for doing it. And they don't know what to do with the tower anyway after it's being taken down.
Exactly. And then we have to look at the New Hampshire, I believe it was in New Hampshire, where they were taking down an old tower and they didn't realize that all of these seasons had caused damage to it. So when you don't take the time to investigate it, it could cause some real danger to some people that are doing something innocent and maybe just trying to get free tower sections. Gordo, what do you think about it?
Well, pre-planning is what I say, and it's what I've done. And that is in my last goodbye, my last QRT memo, I have instructions on what should come down, what will be free for taking it down, and then a fair value for each piece of equipment that I may have here. Some of the equipment is going back to Kenwood and ICOM and Yaesu that they've been nice enough to let me present to our classroom as demos, but it goes back to the manufacturer. So if hams would ahead of time sort of give a little clue on what needs to be done when they go QRT, it'll really make the XYL or the remaining ham for the YL much easier to cope with just a terrible situation. And one time I found a complete Collins S line labeled as CB radios, $100. They had just put it out on the tables. I went over there and I go, ma'am, let me help you. And we reevaluated it. And sure enough, a ham was so enthralled with this great Collins S line. They bought the whole thing for several $1,000s, just a couple $1,000s, a real deal. But I would never, ever, as a ham, look at a brand new radio that's labeled as a CB radio and give them $20 for an ICOM 9100. No. So the good ham will always say, no, you've got to value that up and sell it to a real ham.
I agree with you totally. And I have seen some pretty good deals come from an SK estate. And I like your idea, Gordo, a QRT final request. So, Dale, what do you think? Is it okay to just send some club members over and remove a tower and not expect anything from it? Or what do you think?
Well, I sort of lean toward the safety, I think. Of course, I've always been afraid of heights when I get on a ladder or something like that, so I never really climbed a lot with the towers. Although when we flew photographing out of helicopters and hung out on a strap, it felt like perfectly natural. So can't quite figure that out, why it's so shaky when you're climbing up a tower. But we probably, I think, if it's something that's questionable safety-wise, that you best go the commercial route and get someone to take it down. And then, that's even if a ham finds somebody to take it down, but you should have somebody that knows what they're doing before they start. And it's just too dangerous, especially if they've been up, in the air 20 or 30 years. You can have rust and not know about it and all kinds of things like that. I think safety first would be the key thing. I also think Gordo has an extremely good idea there with the QRT message. Amanda, go ahead.
Absolutely. And you guys should all in the chat room, all of our viewers, listeners out there, you should think about that going, what's my family going to do when I'm not here anymore? Or do I have an exit plan for my tower? So you don't want to erect this whole thing and then not be able to A, work on it, or B, take it down when the time is necessary. So think about those things, everybody. It always puts a lot of people in a pickle. Dale, the other thing I was going to ask you about is I know you're really huge on working the Kansas QSO party, and I think that took place last month. How did that go for you?
Well, that was great. The Kansas QSO party is always real good. Bob up in Heston College, W0BH, runs a heck of a show, and they have 52 or 53, something like that, one-by-one calls, and those suffixes are used to spell different things like Yellow Brick Road and sunflower and stuff like that. And so people love it. And we had a good time here. We had a lot of really good operators come out from the Wichita Amateur Radio Club to experience the event, and they all had a good time. We scored quite a few points. We made around 900 and some contacts. Didn't get as many multipliers as we would like. Just don't know how some of those guys do it and wind up with all of the Canadian provinces and all the states. I got all but one state, but I don't know, actually all but two. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. Great event. Highly recommended for someone that likes to operate, to participate. And it's the third weekend in August every year, the Kansas QSO party. Amanda, go ahead.
Great. I know you always look forward to it so much. All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and close up things. I'll go over the nets here, but I did want to mention we're talking about WWV, so why not talk about WTWW? You can always hear us there live every Wednesday evening, and we thank Ted Randall so much for putting us on there. All right, with that, let's go over some nets tonight. We have we're now on the 75 meter net on 3905, 40 meters on 7192, and D-Star 14 Charlie, and we have DMR on 31012. With that, George, you're going to wrap it up, aren't you?
I will wrap it up, Amanda. Thank you, and thank Gordo and Dale and Victor and everyone involved with tonight's show. It's been a lot of fun. We look forward to having Don back with us next week. Bob, he's on the road again, so he will be out for a little bit. I know he's going to be here. He's planning to be here anyway on October the 9th for something special on the show that night that we'll be talking about. Anyway, hey, fun show. Join us here next week at the same time. We don't know what we're doing yet, but we'll come up with something, and hopefully it'll be something good. 7-3, everyone. Have a great week and get on the air. You know, that's what it's all about.